Members will take leaders' questions under Standing Order 36. I call Deputy Mary Lou MacDonald, please.
Thank you, Count Corla. Taoiseach, this afternoon this Dáil will vote on your decision to lift the eviction ban in 9 days' time. And every TD has a clear choice to make: to back a government decision that will escalate the unprecedented housing emergency, or to protect working families, single people and pensioners who, because of this decision, will lose the roof over their heads. I want to ask you again, Taoiseach, where are people meant to go? Where are the 3,000 households whose eviction notices will kick in from April 1st meant to go? It's a question you dodge because you know the answer. They have nowhere to go, Taoiseach. Nothing that you have announced in the last couple of days changes that reality for people. 2 weeks ago, you confirmed that you were removing the eviction ban with no plan in place. Then you cobbled together a list of previously announced measures, and then you changed tack again, hastily adopting other measures simply to get votes. Government scrambling all over the place, but remains unable to answer the one fundamental question: where are people to go in 9 days' time? And you've heard the stories of those who will be evicted as a result of your decision, Taoiseach. The woman with stage 4 COPD on constant oxygen, the mother currently going through chemotherapy, the family who will lose their home of 15 years and who have found nowhere else despite searching for months. So be in no doubt. Your decision and this vote today has real consequences for real people. On your watch, we have the most serious housing emergency in the history of the state. Nearly 12,000 people are homeless. More than 3,000 of our children grow up in emergency accommodation. And now, because of your decision to lift the eviction ban, 3,000 more households are now looking that harrowing experience in the eye. You say that nothing would change in the time that an extension to the eviction ban would buy. That, in reality, is government admitting that you won't tackle the housing emergency with the urgency it requires. You're conceding that you're out of ideas, that you've thrown in the towel. The policies of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil created and deepened the crisis. Tens of thousands trapped in a private rental nightmare, living with crushing insecurity, with no hope of getting a deposit together and no real chance of buying their own place. A generation locked out of home ownership by the failures of government. And people have lived with this crisis for far too long. They've had enough of the excuses. They know that housing can be fixed, but it will not be fixed by a tired, jaded government that has thrown in the towel. So tá mé gimpi gach teachta dála, chun tacaíocht a thabhairt ruin hin féin, an cosc dí halamhú a hína amach go dtí mí anar an bliain sehuing. Agus caithí an rialtas an taim seo a úsáid le dulin lech leis na faibanna tithiíochta a dhéanamh difríocht ceart. By lifting the eviction ban, this government and those who back them are choosing to escalate a housing crisis that was already out of control. You're choosing to make people homeless. So I appeal to every TD to stand with Ireland's renters and to face down this horrendous decision. Taoiseach, I ask you again to do the right thing, reverse this cruel decision and extend the eviction ban.
Thanks, Deputy. I can guarantee you that we'll do the right thing. It's just the case that we disagree as to what the right thing is. And I have to say, I think when it comes to this entire matter, you've been very disingenuous in how you've spoken about it. You're deliberately stoking up additional anxiety and additional fears for people who have enough to worry about as it is. What you're doing is creating the impression that 4,000 notices to quit in the last 3 months will result in 4,000 evictions, 4,000 more families needing emergency accommodation. That's not the case, Deputy. Do you know how many new tenancies there were in the last 3 months? 19,000 new tenancies in the last 3 months. There were 50,000 new tenancies in the last year. And the truth is the vast majority of people and the vast majority of families will find alternative accommodation. For the relatively small number who won't, and we can't know for sure how many that will be, they will be provided with emergency accommodation and whatever supports the state can provide them. And that is the case. And Deputy, thank you, Ceann Comhairle. And Deputy, it is our view that extending the eviction moratorium to the end of January, the depths of winter, which is Sinn Féin policy, will just make things worse then. It's not a solution. So these are the solutions, Deputy. More social housing. We've built more social housing last year than any year since 1975. There's been no government in your lifetime or mine more committed to social housing than this one, and we'll build even more this year. It's the tenant in situ scheme. Local authorities and approved housing bodies buying up homes so that HAP tenants and RAS tenants can become proper social housing tenants. It's more supply, and among the things we've confirmed this week is expanding the Creek Honha grant so that we can have derelict to rent, bringing old buildings back into use for the purposes of rent, as well as changes to the fair deal and activating unactivated planning permissions. And also we've confirmed this week that there will be taxation changes to encourage small landlords to stay in and new ones to enter. They'll be in the budget and they'll apply from this year. And also we're providing additional funding for NGOs, for councils, for others to help with homelessness prevention, which is crucially important. But I do think, and I'll finish on this, that we should step back here for a moment and recap on what happened here. Last October, we all decided that there would be a winter eviction moratorium and that it would end on the 31st of March. We proposed it, Sinn Féin voted for it on a voice vote, and that was to end it on March 31st. You've since changed your position. And what you've done now is you've put down a private member's motion, which isn't legally binding. You knew it wasn't legally binding when you put it down. It's a show motion from showboaters who've changed their position on this 3 times in the last few weeks. It's not going to pass. It's not going to pass, and even if it did, it would have no practical effect, and you know that.
So your government came to office telling us that you were the government that was going to sort out housing, but nothing changed. In fact, matters worsened. You came into office as Taoiseach last December. You were the Taoiseach to sort this out, but nothing changed. In fact, things matter. No urgency, no ambition, dithering and failure. But your determination to end the eviction ban and your insistence that it happen now, your urgency on this matter stands in very marked contrast to the sluggish, incoherent, piecemeal, failed government approach to actually solving homelessness, your failure to actually provide affordable housing, your failure to actually cut rents, your failure to give working families a chance, your biggest failure of all, to give our young people a fair shot. On these matters, delay, delay, delay in your approach. But when it comes to the 3,000 households that are now facing the loss of their home come April, no delay there. The message to them is that you are on your own with nowhere to go. Those are the facts. Reverse the decision, Taoiseach, and extend the eviction ban.
Thank you, Deputy MacDonald. Taoiseach, without interruption.
Deputy, once again, it's a decision that you voted for. Moving on, Deputy, as I did yesterday, I'm asking for a different approach from the opposition. Instead of rhetoric, instead of anger, instead of words, I'm asking you to help us. Help us to solve the housing crisis. And you can do it in 3 ways. You can stop opposing new housing in your constituencies. You can take the pressure off first-time buyers by ending your opposition to the Help to Buy, and you can stop threatening small landlords with more taxes and more regulations. If Sinn Féin does those 3 things, it will help resolve the housing crisis. Will you do those things? Will you do those things? Will you do those things?
Please.